both of these buildings collapsed, as you'll see if we get the videos running, straight down, symmetrically, at 2/3 of free fall acceleration. This is almost free fall acceleration. So what you're going to see is an unnatural collapse. What we're told is this is a gravitational collapse due to structural weakening. What we see instead in the video that's available on our table outside, if we don't get to them today, this is clearly an engineered phenomena with multiple explosions going off at the onset of destruction, like a belt, like the firemen described. 118 of them out of the 500 that were recorded that night, up to in October. We didn't know about that, by the way, until August of 2005, when the city was forced to hand over these oral recordings to the New York Times, ordered by the New York Court of State of Appeals. 118 of them describing pop, 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 bands of explosions all around the building. Absolutely extraordinary in their detail. Pop, pop, pop. They saw flashes of light. And then the building descends straight down, but most of this building, above the point of jet plane impacts, is an incredible upward arching streamers of pyroclastic-like dust, which you'll see in the video and the photos. And then the whole building is down in somewhere between 10 and 14 seconds. This is completely unnatural against 80,000 tons of structural steel. Straight down through the path of what was the greatest resistance. The buildings and other objects that are falling, they obey the law of entropy. They fall over to the path of least resistance. This is clearly an engineered phenomenon where the columns, at least the core columns, have to be removed within 1/10 of a second of each other. Any deviation in that pattern, and the building begins to tip. And this happens in explosive controlled demolitions more often than that industry would like to acknowledge. Next question. Over here. Stand up, please, and belt it out. Okay, what's your question?
So I'm saying, how can they say that we went all down in 11 seconds when there was all water, like an ocean of water at the same time?
Yes, there was a lot of water. Some people think the explosions, which William Rodriguez and others heard before the plane hit, was an effort at sabotaging the sprinklers so that they wouldn't be able to put out the fire. I don't have evidence for that, but it would make sense. Next question?
Yes, thank you for all you've done, and 1,000 architects and engineers now. My question relates to the news conference you had a couple of weeks ago, a week or two ago, and the report in the Washington Times of that news conference. What's happened since that article ran?
Well, we've had some good coverage. Victoria, British Columbia, Channel 2 Mainstream News covered us in a very nice article you can see on our website. Also, we've been invited to debate this Tuesday on Russia Today. It'll be in Russia, prime time, with somebody. We don't actually know who our opponent is. They're trying to get somebody from NIST, but they haven't been having much luck with that. We have 100 more architects and engineers. We now have 1,100. So,
Richard, one quick question.
yes.
A few people asked and you spoke about it takes a few months to set up a controlled demolition. Can you speak a little on the work that was being done in the in the elevators and the security company that was in charge of the World Trade Center?
Yes, we'll come to that. What I'm going to do is proceed with the slides so you'll at least see the pictures. The videos are misbehaving for the first time ever. I mean, in 150 presentations, I haven't had the problem where the videos wouldn't show. Very curious. But controlled demolitions, we know them. We've seen them in Las Vegas. We intuitively know them. This is why I always start with Building 7, because it's an interesting classic example of an explosive controlled demolition, in which we start at the base of the building, at the onset of destruction. We have straight down symmetrical collapse into the building's footprint because demolition waves remove that column support, and resulting in a free fall speed as fast as this brick is falling from my hand. That's how fast some controlled demolitions go, and Building 7 did, as we'll see, resulting in the total dismemberment of the steel structure with minimal damage to adjacent structures, sounds and flashes of explosives heard and seen by witnesses, enormous clouds of pulverized concrete, as we've talked about, and sometimes explosive charges going off at the wrong floors, or maybe they're mistimed, we don't know, but they're obviously explosions, and of course chemical evidence is left behind in the residue. So if we have these, we know we have direct evidence of explosive destruction. Now fire can't create any one of these, let alone all 10 of them. So we're really sure that we have an explosive controlled demolition if we have those, particularly if it's backed up by additional corroborating evidence, such as government documentation, which in the case of Building 7, we'll see some interesting examples of. Expert corroboration, experts agree, hey, yeah, not all of them sometimes, especially this time, but some of them. That's a controlled demolition. Foreknowledge, because we know months in advance that these are going to happen, usually. And this is all proof of controlled demolition, at least proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, when we look at Building 7, the 47-story skyscraper, a football field away from the Twin Towers, not hit by an airplane, we have an interesting example. And architects, engineers know nothing for the most part. 95% of architects and engineers have never heard of Building 7. Yet, this is the third worst structural failure in modern history. It's an extraordinary example of ignorance and planned ignorance, really, because we didn't see it on the media. How are they supposed to know about it? Well, their associations and professionals and leaders should have told them at a minimum. This building collapses at 5:20 in the afternoon of 9/11. It was hit by some of this mysterious laterally flying debris from the North Tower, which we'll get to. Some fires were started. Some say noon, some say 1 o'clock. And there was in fact, some fire damage. We'll show. But what we're going to do is compare the typical features of the collapse of Building 7 to the classic controlled demolition. Starting with, is there a sudden onset of destruction at the base of the structure? Well, here's the video. If we can hear it, it's really just a radio.
The building actually goes on fire. The bottom floors of the building were on fire, and because this sound sounded like a clap of thunder, turned around, we were shocked to see that the building was what looked like there was a shock wave ripping through the building, and the windows all busted out. That was horrifying. Then, about a second later, the bottom floor caved out, and the building followed after that, and we saw the building crash down all the way to the ground. We were in shock, and then
Okay, so that is the gentleman who heard sounds of explosions. Very, very interesting. Why didn't he make it into the 9/11 Commission? Along with, by the way, the entire story of the destruction of this building, which didn't make it into any of the 571 pages.